So first things first, my one and only 49ers mock draft is now by far the most viewed 49ers mock draft on YouTube. Over 20,000 views. So it is an honor. Thank you for checking it out. And if you haven't yet, the link is in the description.
So Rams receiver Puka Nacua just outed himself as salary cap illiterate. He actually came onto a podcast and said that the 49ers would see their title window closed if they paid Brock Purdy market rate, or over $50 million per year. It's almost as if Puka Nacua doesn't remember what happened just 3 or 4 months ago. His Rams were eliminated by the Eagles, the eventual world champions, so their window's obviously still very open. The same world champions who paid Jalen Hurts, their quarterback, over $50 million 2 years ago, when the salary cap was 24% lower. If you understand the salary cap, you understand that it's possible to build a team around a highly paid quarterback, especially given the fact that that cap is inflating right now, 24.1% in just 2 seasons. Hello on this beautiful Saturday from Percy Warner Park, legendary old horse track in Nashville. We can take a look around the park right now. This is the spring in Nashville. Good spot. They're going to have the big Iroquois steeplechase here in just a few weeks in May. But right now it's empty and we can walk around. We can talk about how ridiculous Nacua's comments were. You know, one of the things too that has to be brought up is that he breaks a big time unwritten code. You don't mess with other players' pocketbooks, especially when you yourself, Puka Nacua, has been in the league for 2 years. He's going to be eligible for his own contract extension next off season. So, I mean, that's a big no-no in the league. This is supposed to be a brotherhood. The NFLPA, the union's not going to be happy about this for sure, but it's supposed to be a brotherhood. These guys are going out there playing a very dangerous sport and playing it at a high level. You don't try to, throw shade at one of your contemporaries' opportunities to make some money. So it's not going to be smiled on by other players, not going to be smiled on by the NFLPA. And, if you're already going to go out there and break the unwritten rule, you might as well be right. And Puka Nacua definitely isn't right. Here's the truth on Brock Purdy. He has been the most efficient quarterback in football ever since joining the league in 2022. Number one. And even in a year where the 49ers struggled last season, he was still number 7 in QBR. Much better than Nacua's own quarterback, Matthew Stafford, with the Rams, who's fallen off over the course of the past 3 years, ever since the Rams won that Super Bowl in 2021. There's no question for anyone who knows the game that market rate for a quarterback like Brock Purdy in his mid-20s, the top of the league efficiency-wise, best days still in front of him, is above $50 million per year. You have to have a good quarterback. You have to commit to a good quarterback when you do have one. 49ers have one logical course of action. And you can't build a team around a quarterback who makes over $50 million per year stereotype is extremely tired. It's been disproven by the very team that Puka Nacua lost to. The Rams were eliminated by the Eagles, who were actually using that formula and were very much in the middle of their championship window. So nonsense on that end. Might as well call it out. Show you guys a nice spot here in Nashville. I'm actually on the actual horse racing track. We can cross the finish line. So we cross the finish line where the horses will be running here in that steeplechase in just a few weeks. You can enjoy all the greenery here before it gets really hot.
All right, back inside and back to our discussion of the 49ers draft. Because at the end of the day, that is the lifeblood of this whole process to build a team around Brock Purdy. Every single serious franchise has attempted to do this through the draft. The Rams have successfully drafted over the past 2 years. So Nacua's own team has seen its defense restocked through the NFL draft. The Eagles, whom I just talked about, well, they've also seen their defense restocked through the NFL draft. The 49ers trying to do the same thing in 2025. They have a league-high 11 picks, so when you do look at my mock draft, you will see a wide assortment of positions that the 49ers tried to attack. But I think within the context of Purdy, we need to emphasize, and I think a lot of people lose this very key point, he was still really good last year. I mentioned number 7 in QBR. Everything, all the metrics for Brock Purdy were still in the top 10 when it came to efficiency. When we looked at those aggregate metrics that actually mean something, that correlate to whether a team wins or loses games. The offense, to be honest, for the 49ers, because Purdy was there as the locomotive of the train, was fine for San Francisco. Now, there are many components of the offense they still need to fix. Obviously, the average separation dead last, and the running game wasn't where they needed it to be with all those injuries last year. But Purdy actually was able to drag the offense to a point of relative efficiency. It was the 49ers defense, which ranked number 26 in the league last year. They were number 29 against the run. It was the defense that completely slid, and the special teams, well, the bottom just fell out. There is no quarterback who has ever played football in the history of the game, not Joe Montana, not Patrick Mahomes, not Tom Brady, who has been able to win without a complete team. And I'm talking win at a Super Bowl level without a complete team. Go through all the Super Bowl winners. They are not terrible in a phase of the game, especially one of the two primary phases of the game, offense or defense. And the 49ers were downright terrible defensively to finish 2024. So they posted numbers that were not run it back numbers. They posted numbers that were, quite frankly, blow it up numbers. Keep the A-list high performers, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Deommodore Lenoir. Those guys, yeah, you're okay with paying those guys. You're okay with them being the centerpieces. But then the rest of the team needed to get younger so that it could properly be fast enough and durable enough and hungry enough to supplement the foundational pillar that is Brock Purdy. And the foundational pillars that are Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, hopefully for the 49ers, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. On defense, Nick Bosa, Fred Warner, Deommodore Lenoir, maybe even Malik Mustafa moving into the future. So anyway, that mock draft is up, and I draft it with all of this in mind. I think you need to replenish all positions at all times, because the NFL, it's a not for long type of league. That's actually what NFL could stand for. So it's not just about defensive tackle and edge rusher and offensive tackle. It's about the other spots. It's about thinking in terms of a 4 or 5 year plan in this league. My first pick, though, was Derek Harmon, the defensive tackle out of Oregon. Second pick in the mock draft, Arante Ursary, offensive tackle out of Minnesota. No real coincidence, right, that I go Trench in round 1, Trench in round 2. Trench players for both on the defensive side of the ball than the offensive side of the ball, because I firmly believe in building a team from the inside out. And I do think that the 49ers, who haven't really been drafting prolifically along the defensive line in some time. I mean, their last top 100 pick along the defensive line was Drake Jackson. That was all the way back in 2022. And that was a focus for this team when John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan came aboard. It was all about drafting defensive line back then, up to the Nick Bosa draft in 2019. I think the 49ers need to get back to those roots. It's fitting, just as this need for a renovation of their defensive line or their entire front seven comes in. Robert Saleh, who was initially one of the chief architects of that front seven, is back in the fold for San Francisco. And, you know, I know that there's a lot of debate and a lot of noise about the prioritization of offensive line with this 49ers coaching staff and with this 49ers front office. But at the end of the day, they have shown that tackle is important to them. In certain years, they've shown that center is very important enough to them for big money investment. I think that the time is coming for the 49ers to make sure their succession plans at both tackle and center, two positions for which they have forked out big money under this regime. I think the time is coming for the 49ers to make sure that the future is set there. So that's why I've got Arante Ursary going to the 49ers, the big tackle out of Minnesota in the second round. And center, it's going to be interesting to see how San Francisco approaches that. There is a school of thought that says you might be able to find a center whom you can develop under Jake Brendel for the next year or two. Brendel's still under contract for 2 more years, maybe in the middle rounds of the draft. The key that I'll leave you with, and you have to go check out the mock draft. It is the most viewed 49ers mock draft by far. So I really appreciate everybody for trusting my opinion, my research, my take on this. But what I'll leave you with is that this is an extremely deep draft in a season that the 49ers have the most picks out of any NFL team in the NFL draft. 11 picks for the 49ers in this deep draft should be prime to attack this thing, renovate and replenish the roster the way that they need to. And always, don't forget what I said on that horse racing track. Puka Nacua's comments, embarrassing. Stay out of another man's pocketbook. It's not a good look in this NFL, especially if your take is wrong. Brock Purdy, one of the top QBs in the game. He will be paid as such. And for those who know the football, it will not be something controversial.